Hello and good morning, Anderson High School.
I'm Carlos.
And I'm Carlos.
And this is Carlos in the morning.
And this is our special edition. This is a Thanksgiving week edition. Today we're going to be talking about the NFL. Atlanta and Houston, they both played Arizona and the Jaguars respectively. Both teams going into this, and many of the people in the U.S. thought it was going to be gimme games for both of these two teams, and they ended up struggling a lot more. Houston won in overtime barely, and Atlanta was trailing the entire game until the fourth quarter. What do these two wins mean for the franchises going forward, Carlos?
Well, like you said, they're gimme games, so I think that was the reason why these games played out the way they did. But, you know, these two teams will end up being number one seeds in playoffs, so they'll get their bye week. But the thing is I was thinking about it, and nowadays, no matter if you're 1 or 6 in playoffs, it really doesn't matter.
It doesn't at all.
I mean, you think that Aaron Rodgers is going to be scared to go down to Atlanta and win a game? Or Eli Manning?
If anything, it's harder to be at the top because there's more pressure and more expectation. If you're at the bottom, you're playing, you don't have anything to lose.
And for me, I really wouldn't want the bye going into playoffs. Mm-hmm. I want that extra game.
Yeah.
Because they're coming off of extra practice, but I'm coming off of a game, and I don't know. I'd rather not have the bye.
If anything, Atlanta really needed this win to kind of get their swagger back. They lost the game to the Saints, a big divisional rivalry, and now they kind of just need to, they haven't really beat a team this year. It's always been close no matter who the opponents. They have been pulling out the wins, but they really needed this for the football team to just come in and just, beat on a football team that's having a lot of troubles this year, the Arizona. For me, it's more troubling for Atlanta than Houston because there's a difference between a gimme game, like the New England Patriots, they lost to the Arizona Cardinals early in the year, and a quarterback throwing 5 interceptions. When your quarterback is throwing 5 interceptions, no matter what the game is, that's a cause for concern. And for me, now, Atlanta, they're really down in my power rankings this week because they really struggled against a team they've been having trouble causing turnovers and playing well. And Matt Ryan, he's starting to show that he still is young and inexperienced, and he still has a lot to prove this season.
Well, I have a question for you. We all know that Houston and Andre Johnson just went off this week, but it seems like every time I watch Houston, there's always that one player that just goes off that game. What happens when they get to playoffs and the whole team's not hot? They just have one guy that's hot. They just shut them down and their team can't play. So, like you're saying, Atlanta and Matt Ryan not throwing 5 interceptions, that's a big problem. But if Houston can't find that one guy that does really good that game, I don't think they're going to be able to go off deep in playoffs.
Exactly, because they've been having, one player, like you said, step up each game, and their defense didn't play very well, but their offense played very well. But it's against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who people have had no problem taking the football up and down the field again. So for me, Matt Schaub getting 517 yards, a league or NFL record, second NFL record, it's not that impressive because they were playing down the entire game, and for their defense to allow 43 or 47 points to the Jacksonville Jaguars backup offense because Maurice Jones-Drew,
Aaron Rodgers is going to take advantage of that.
And Chad Henne is a backup quarterback. I feel like now teams there's a blueprint for how to win. So moving on to college football, there was massive chaos in the BCS standings this week.
Number 1 and number 2 falling. But this is, again, I know it seems that you still got that that undefeated team, but this again, it keeps coming back down. Alabama loses and everyone's thinking they're out, right? But then next week comes along and Kansas State and Oregon fall. So now they're back at number 2. We need playoffs now. I know it's coming. I know, and that's good. But I feel like we need playoffs now. What do you think? I mean, these teams are getting left out, and they really shouldn't be left out. I think everyone should just fight for that championship.
Absolutely, I agree with the playoffs. 4-game playoffs, I think, is more than enough because 8 games, and it's just more risking injuries, and then these players that's how they're going to make a living for the rest of their life. But I feel like a 4-game playoff is going to make it a lot more fair. Also interesting to note, Ohio State is undefeated, but because of the sanctions they had, they paid players, so they're ineligible for 4 years. But they are undefeated, and if those sanctions wouldn't have been there, it would most likely be them. It would be Ohio State and Notre Dame playing for the national championship. So very interesting.
Speaking of the moment, but here, this is way before playoffs has even started, and the whole talk about playoffs. This is what I think, and I want to see if you agree. Right? You know how we have the national championship right now as playoffs? It's 4 teams playing for that playoff, right? Mm-hmm. This is what I was thinking. If we have 4 teams play for, and this is how you keep your BCS bowl games. This only happens for BCS bowl games. You get 4 teams to play for the national championship, right?
Mm-hmm.
Though okay, so 2 teams are going to lose right there. The next 2 teams will play for the Tostitos Bowl. So, you know what I'm saying? So each team still gets to play 2 games, but you're playing to see what bowl you get into.
Absolutely.
So
I feel like at the end of the day, it's just to make sure the 2 best teams in college football are in the national championship.
And I honestly don't think that Notre Dame is one of the best teams in the national in the NCAA.
Yeah, because honestly, like they've been having some trouble against very weak opponents, and they Stanford almost went in to beat them at home, and I feel like they're a good team. They're a very good team, but they're still a young team, and I feel like I don't know if they deserve the number 1 spot, but that's where they are right now because they're undefeated. So. All right, that's gonna be all for Carlos and Carlos in the morning. We wish you a happy and safe Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, guys. Yeah, I didn't really want to talk about the